Tammy Thibodeau from Scott and Harper Center. And the question for the group right now is, what is one thing you would really like from mentoring? Really trying to get down to some really specifics, because I think we know the broad general sense of connectedness in teaching, but really, what is something specific that you really want?
All right, I'm jumping in right now. This is one of the things that I think I'm good at doing as a mentor, but I'm really bad at asking from my mentors. And that is, I need someone to be the pusher sometimes, because sometimes I feel like I'm not secure enough maybe in my own skills or in my own talents, that I hold myself back. And I wish that someone would just care enough about me. That's a horrible, that suggests that no one cares about me, which is not true, but everyone cares about me.
Not feeling sorry for yourself.
You know, that someone cares about me enough to put me as a priority, at least a part of their life, you know, and says, I'm gonna seek out Katie and make sure that she's doing well and she's doing what I know she's capable of doing. For me, I need that direction.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think maybe as women, we don't toot our own horns sometimes, that, you know, somebody else has to say, you know what, you would be really good at that. You should do that. And I know that I don't do that enough, and I need somebody to say, you know, Julie Medina, who's our domestic violence assistant county attorney, who is awesome. She told me the other day, you need to be a lawyer. That's what you need to do. And she just looked at her and she goes, how am I going to get you to law school? Exactly. I said, well, Creighton won't pay for it. Or are you going to pay for it? Yeah. That's exactly what I told her. But I totally agree. And I think that we need to be those people. We need to push others that aren't tooting their own horns. Like, hey, you can do this. And make sure we do that often.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I absolutely agree 100% with you that it's much easier for me to be a mentor than to be a mentee.
Especially for women, it's hard to ask for help.
Well, I think just even being a student, like, on this campus, it's interesting because, like, I'll go to, like, a Senate meeting or I'll go to something else, and then it's like, well, we really need a woman leader to come to this, I don't know, panel or something like that. But it's like a scarce. Like, why is everyone hiding? Like, where are all these mentors or, like, these role models that I'm supposed to be looking up to? Because, like we were having this discussion, why is it such a negative connotation to be someone and be a strong someone and, you know, express your opinions because you are a woman? And I know that has nothing to do with this question, but I think that it just kind of comes back to, like, how I see my own, like, teachers that I do, professors that I do research with. It's like they have guided me in such a great direction, especially with psychology, because it's not like there's so many different things you can do with it. And for me, what I really like that I get from that interaction with them is that they do, like, motivate me to, like, do something I like, even though, because I'm passionate about my research, I'm passionate about the study, but it's all about, like, incorporating that into my life and making sure that I'm going to be a well-rounded person. And I think for me, it's like the reassurance, not necessarily the motivation, but the reassurance that what you're doing is going to be something wonderful. Yeah.
Want to be heard.
I was already told that. All right. By this young lady next to me.
Yes. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I definitely would agree with Connie, and I would actually say that your point about being a strong person, whether or not you're a woman or a man, I think that has to do with mentoring a lot, because like we're saying, some people really, they can do a lot, but they need to be pushed. I mean, and Katie's definitely a pusher, I know, because she's one of my mentors, but I'm not a negative connotation, people. She's awesome, but I think that a lot of people aren't necessarily very good at just getting out there and, motivating themselves. Not always. There's some people that can really do it, but I would definitely agree that one of the things that I really value about my mentoring relationship with her specifically is that I know that she will push me, and that will make me a stronger person. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten up here and done this if she wouldn't have said, hey, you should come do this thing. And then I find out what the thing is. I'm like, oh, I'm in front of everybody. How exciting. I would never have, if she would have detailed to me, like, honestly, honestly, this is awesome. It is really good, but and I knew I could do it once we talked about it and we went to the meeting, but I would probably not have ever thought to volunteer to do anything like this. But I have somebody like her who pushes me, and that makes me a stronger person. That makes me able to do this kind of thing and to be more successful and to be motivated to be successful. I'm much more likely to probably go out and volunteer for something like this in the future because I got to do this. I think that totally ties back to exactly what you're saying about a mentor making you a strong person. I think that helps.
Okay, first of all, I need to acknowledge some of the students that are here today, the ones that are back at my table, and the other 4 that got up and went to the other table. Could you stand up, please? Thank you, thank you. I do that because as we were all sitting there talking, we had a group that came over and we were going to, faculty and staff were going to mix and join each other. The students got up and said, do you mind if we split up between your 2 tables? And I thought that was amazing. I think that you guys came here with the right attitude, and I feel that you probably got a lot of that from your mentors, and you've learned from them, and that's what I need in a mentor, somebody that's going to teach me, or I'm going to learn from them, and again, push me, of course. Somebody that is always looking out for my best interests. When I was in college here, I did not get a lot of this kind of stuff. I wasn't involved in it, that kind of thing. So I'm sure I had mentors, but never thought about it. Never knew I had them, never, till I came to work here. And I was the first time I ever actually used the word mentor was to my previous boss. But he pushed me, he got me where I am today, and that's what I need from a mentor.
I just thought of something. My sister, I actually look at her as a huge mentor in my life, and it kind of reflects back to when I started off college. She kind of she knows me well enough to be get involved with this, do this, which is always a great thing, and I love that. I loved the push, or I love having her be you would love to do this activity. But what I think I've really learned, especially with her not being here anymore, is that at some point though, I love that she's still there. I can still call her and ask her and get all this advice about things I need to do academically and just for my own well-being. But now it's my turn to do it. So I think being a mentor, and what I like about having one, is at some point I need to take control of it in my own, it's my life, so I need to take control of it by myself, but having that person just there.
But you do the same thing for
other people, yeah.
You learn from your sister.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because I have a little cousin right now, and God, it kills me because I just do this, do that, but it's, and she's at my high school, and I am just obsessed with Marion, so if any of you, yeah, I know. And I was okay, so I'm just encouraging her to do all these things that I did, and then my sister did as well. But with that being said, I have to understand we are 2 different people. Little did you know, she's more introverted, and I don't know if I would describe myself that way.
What?
But
That's actually a really good point, though. I mean, sometimes I think we get intimidated we can be intimidated in our mentor relationships because we see them as our mentors as role models, but they're not the model. And we don't have to be exactly like them or as successful as them or as popular as them or whatever. They're there to help us. They're there to help us be the person that we are supposed to be. And we don't necessarily know what that is yet. And again, that's probably why I can often find myself intimidated by the people who I'm naturally seeing as mentors in my life, because I might get intimidated a little bit by what they have to bring to the relationship as a model. So I have to personally just stop seeing them as the model.
No, I can talk for
Well, I think that's really interesting because I think someone asked me to be their mentor last fall semester, and I was flattered, but this poor person who happens to be in this room, I am so sorry because as we're constantly learning about what it means and kind of self-reflecting on what it means to be a mentor, I've so redefined what I need to do. And because I know I need someone in my life too, who will kind of push and challenge me. And I have not done a really good job at all with that because I don't want to be that person, that bossy person who kind of, says, oh, you should do this, this, and this. That's just not my personality. But because we never had that conversation of how do we mutually define what a mentor is, my definition, it may be the same as hers, may be something completely different, but we never took the time to say, this is what we hope to get out of this relationship. And so while I know personally what I need, I have absolutely no idea what she needs. And that's sad. And that's, and I think that's so important then as we're kind of navigating those relationships of how do we make that time to, well, it might be an awkward conversation, hopefully not so much, but that you're able to make the time to have that conversation.
It's really important to have that meta communication about the way that your relationship will be, and what you need from each other, because sometimes mentors need things from their mentees as well. I mean, it is a reciprocal relationship, and I think it's really important that we allow ourselves to have those open and honest conversations. And it also may be that I may be in a mentor relationship with someone where I'm the mentor, and that my mentee asks me, I need this kind of help, and I can't provide that for them. But hopefully I can find someone else who I can, seek out their resources and help them in that way. But that in itself is, again, mentoring. And I wouldn't know that unless my mentee felt comfortable coming to me and asking me for that.
And I think that that has to do with I am a mentor. It's what they call it for my internship, but the psychology department, they sell it as a counselor. And so I just had a session, I guess, with one of my kids, and it was really interesting because it's like some of the kids come to me and they start talking about like life issues and like, hey, I'm going through this, but then other ones who are like making milestones and accomplishing their goals, when they start asking me advice about staying on the right track, then it becomes more of a personal thing. And I think for me, like what you said, like I get intimidated sometimes, and I think that's why I have like an advisor and then a mentor, because it's like you have that person who can intimidate you, I guess, and tell you this is what you need to do, A, B, and C. But I personally really like it when I hear, you're not perfect as well, and I look at me, I'm successful, but I've made all these mistakes. I've learned from these mistakes, and I like that's what made that relationship between my individual child that I was speaking to at that point, because she like asked me, I was like, are you really sure you want to know about my relationship advice and take it? No, I could tell you what not to do. But I mean, it's comforting in knowing what, others have gone through.
I'd never thought of asking somebody to be a mentor. I think that's really shows some initiative. I don't know if a lot of people in here have done that. Apparently you had somebody come up to you and ask you to be their mentor, and I think that's really neat. It says a lot about you, Michelle, but it also says a lot about that person and their appreciation of what you do and who you are. That is amazing to me. I always think you stroll across your mentor, just by happenstance, because that's how it happened to me. But I think it's amazing that somebody took the initiative to come up and I don't know in your relationships if you have students that come up and ask you, or if it just happens that way.
Sometimes we obviously a natural formal relationship is the advisor-advisee role, which ends up in many cases, or at least in many cases with my students that I work with, becomes a more mentoring role. But I also, I've had students in our basic intro class that I'm not going to see beyond that class typically, and they've come and sought me out for help with various things, and it wasn't just the letter of rec, which is kind of nice. They come and they talk to me about real world experiences and things that they need. So yeah, I love it.
One of the greatest experiences I've had with one of the people that served as a mentor to me, although I've never ever said, will you be my mentor, was that after we met, she took the initiative one year to write down my goals for me after we'd met and we'd talked about it. And I had them in my head, the things I wanted to accomplish for the year. But she actually took the time and wrote them all down for me and emailed them to me and said, we're going to talk about them every 2 or 3 months to see how you're doing. And that's that little push you need, you know, to make sure you accomplish your goals for that year.
But it gives you something that you have to, somebody that you have to be responsible to, which I think also helps in a relationship.
Right.
Which is why I love our postcards too, because you become a mentor to yourself with these postcards.
You know, and Connie Ryan today actually said, write them down. You know, write them down. That way you're accountable to yourself to accomplish them, you know. So.
Well, having said all that, they've gotten their 15 minutes. I really, really, really want to thank you for being the first on the block to join us. That was mighty courageous of you. So I thank you very much for joining us. And then I'm going to leave the question with you to have the same discussion about one thing you would like from a mentoring relationship.